It's crazy, but it's been 4 years in a pandemic since I packed up my two sons. We left the suburbs of Chicago. We left our family and all the people that we know and moved down to Winston-Salem, North Carolina. And I got to tell you, it's been great overall for us. I've really grown to feel like this place is home. I don't see myself moving or living anywhere else anytime in the near future, but it hasn't all been sunshine and roses either, right? I've made plenty of pros and cons videos about living in Winston-Salem, some reasons why you might not want to move here, why it might not be a good fit for you, and I put all that into a playlist, Living in Winston-Salem, that I'm going to link those below. It's got a bunch of good videos in there that talk about those things as well. Part of the unique thing about my story of living here for 4 years is I'm also, as you probably know, a real estate agent. And in that job, not only have I moved myself and my family here from another part of the country, but I've talked to and helped literally hundreds of other people do the same thing. So I have a little bit of a unique perspective of not only what I've gone through, but what I've seen that clients and clients that have frankly become friends have gone through. And we've had some conversations about that. So that's all kind of part of my story too. And I'm going to share that with you in this 4-year update. So we're going to share some, practical tips on getting here, moving here, some things I like, some things kind of that aren't so great for me. And then at the end, I'm going to share some things that I would do different if I were doing it today. So hang around till the end so you can see those things and hopefully you'll learn from some of the mistakes that I made. I'm Jeff Valentino, as you know. I love helping people buy and sell real estate. My contact information is below if you need help with that. But first, let's talk about just the people here in general. And I've gone on about it before about how nice the people are and things like that. But what I want to talk about is finding your group, kind of getting to know people. It's really weird when you come from another part of the country and you literally don't know anyone. And the friendliness of people I've talked about have kind of taken me by surprise because that just didn't happen kind of where I moved from. In Winston-Salem, people are really outgoing, friendly. They're willing to chat you up, but that doesn't always mean you have a connection and can find your group. Now I have a job where I, have an office. I network with a lot of other people. I meet a lot of people all the time. So meeting people has been really simple for me in that regard. I also have kids that they go to school and their friends and I meet their parents and so it's been a little bit different for me. It's been a little bit easier in that regard. I've seen people struggle with it is where they're, say, a remote worker or they're single and don't have kids or just have, super busy and can't get out all the time. And when I've talked to clients that have kind of come through that and made some solid connections and stuff like that, they've all said kind of similar things. That's really to kind of push yourself and go outside your comfort zone a little bit, find some activities to do. Whether it's, taking a class at Sawtooth School of the Arts or join a church or a group that's interested in the same things that you are, take your dog to a park. There's plenty of parks to take your pup out. And just generally just start, when you get out there, just start saying hi to people and just kind of see what happens. That's the people that have had success and really just finding a solid core group of people have done all kind of similar things like that. Another thing I've done is joined a few local wineries around here. I enjoy that. Not only the scenery, but having a glass of wine. But part of the wine club is they get together on a regular basis and have a wine dinner or just a wine club pickup. It's a great place to start seeing familiar people, start chatting, and just really make some connections that way. Next thing I want to talk about that I picked up, not only it happened to myself, has happened to plenty of clients I've talked to in this time, and I want to let you know about it just so you can kind of expect it if you move here. And that's kind of just the ebb and flow of living here itself, that feeling of what the heck did I do? How did I get here? What's going on? Totally normal. Almost everyone I've talked to has gone through a period of where they're like, oh my gosh, did I make the right decision? Did I make the wrong decision? How did I get here? I've noticed it go like this. People get here, it's kind of like a wave. They go up, they're super excited, they're exploring all kinds of new different things, meeting new people, finding their way around, and it's just really exciting. When that kind of wears off, this whole process goes over about a year. When that kind of wears off, they start to descend on that a little super exciting at first, and then you kind of go into a little bit of a decline. And this is where I see people, if you don't pull yourself out of that, where you can get kind of stuck. It's like, what did I do? And just know that that feeling is not forever. As you get back into your groove and start exploring and start learning about the area more and stuff like that, I've seen that start to come back up. And then it kind of, it's not as high as it was because that's kind of unsustainable, that excitement. But you kind of settle into, okay, this is home, this is where we're at, this is what I like and don't like about the area. And that process, I've seen it go from just a few months to really over a year-long process to where people can really start to settle in and feel like home. So just know that that feeling is kind of natural. Like I said, so many people, it happened to me and so many other people I've talked to have kind of gone through some of those ups and downs, and I hope that if you kind of know that's coming when it does, you can kind of anticipate that and kind of get yourself out of it, or just understand that where you're at's normal. Next, I want to talk about just the actual physical part of moving here, the nuts and bolts aspect of it. I've seen people go everywhere from, they sell everything and drive here in a car, to where they have a full service where they, don't touch anything. Everybody brings, loads and unloads, and does everything for them. So I've heard all those scenarios and a lot of the ones in between here. What I've found that works a lot, what clients seem to really enjoy, is actually what I did myself, and that's use a service like Pods or something like that, where they drop the containers off at your current residence. You load them, they give you usually a few day window in there, you load them up, they come and pick them up, and they'll drop them off in the driveway at your new house here in Winston-Salem. Ended up being a great option for me. I talked to a lot of clients that use this. It's worked really well for them. A couple things to know on that. One is that those date ranges are generally flexible. So that means, we'll have your pod delivered here in North Carolina from the 10th to the 13th. It could be any one of those days. So you'll always want to make sure you have some basic stuff with you, especially if you're moving into a new place. But no, those dates are flexible. And the other thing to know is if there is a delay or something like that, you can always use those as storage. So you can call them and say, hey, my house isn't going to be ready for another week. Can you store it at your facility there? They will do that. It makes it really convenient, especially if you have adjustments along the way. Pods or there are other services like that, but Pods is probably just one of the bigger ones. But they make a great option with some flexibility built in. The other thing I want to mention is about the full service movers. I've talked to a few people about this. I didn't use it myself, but especially when gas was really, really high and labor was really, really short, I've noticed those costs really skyrocketed over the last couple of years. So if you're budgeting on a move, really get some quotes on that if you're doing a full service, because it has gotten more expensive over the last couple of years than it was the previous year or so before that. So if you're planning on a full service company and you're building in your overall moving budget, whether that's down payment, closing costs, and stuff like that, really think about that service and get some quotes ahead of time so you can plan out the costs accordingly if that's the way you're going to go. Last one would be just, the old-fashioned one-way move, rent a U-Haul or Ryder truck or something like that, drive it across here. That's still another really common one. The thing I'll say about that, as well as the pod service, is that you can hire help on both sides of there independently. So if you need help packing up your truck or your pod when you're in your home state, you can do that, and then you can hire separate help to help you unload it here. Most of these companies have that available right on their website. It tends to be really reasonable, where you can just hire, 1, 2, 3, 4, however many people that you want for a certain amount of time to help you load and unload. Tends to take a lot of the pressure off and make things simpler. I've also had a couple clients tell me they were able to find some local labor from landscape companies or other help, like on Facebook Marketplace or something like that, where they just need some day labor for just a couple hours to do stuff like that. Another thing that has amazed me in the time that I've lived here is just the sheer amount of things to do for a city this size. I mean, that has really taken me by surprise. But not only that, as well as its proximity to other places right here in the Triad. So even outside of Winston-Salem, right here in the Triad, there are so many different things to do, especially if you have, family, kids. There is just a tremendous amount of activities and things to do. And as the city grows and expands, that list keeps growing. They just expanded Quarry Park to build a great amphitheater and playground there. It's beautiful. Also, right downtown, they have the Caladium that's almost done. It's looking great. 80 parks, greenways, Salem Lake, cooking classes at Southern Home, art classes all over the place. I mean, the list just really goes on and on and on. And that's just in Winston-Salem. Just outside Winston-Salem, still within the Triad. So, even just within probably a 30-minute or less drive from where you're going to be at, there is even more and more things to do. You have things like the Cubine Children's Museum in High Point. If you like to hike, check out Piedmont Legacy Trails. They have a great Instagram account with some local hikes that you can go find, some really nice out-of-the-way ones. In Greensboro, you can go shopping at the Friendly Center. You can go to the Greensboro Science Museum and Aquatic Center. And like I said, the list just within the Triad, the more I've explored and the more I've seen, it just goes on and on and on. Indoor activities, outdoor activities, everything in between. And that's not even counting day trips to Raleigh or Charlotte or Asheville. I mean, there's just a ton of things to do. If you're bored, look a little bit closer, search a little bit harder. I'm sure you can find something to do. A couple things that have been, not so great or taken some getting used to. And I'm going to restrain myself a little on here, but it's summer. Summer here has made me really appreciate spring and fall like I never had before. And the first couple years, I was so excited to get away from Chicago winters. I made a deal. I'm not going to complain about the heat, but the reality is like July and August, they're kind of uncomfortable. Last year, I was like, okay, sweating through shirts. So bringing change of clothes when I'm meeting clients and showing houses is just kind of a thing that I do now because it does get hot. It does get muggy. And black cars are my favorite color cars, but having one, I've realized like, wow, it gets really hot. I know, Crimea River, but it is what it is. It's hot here in the summer. So year 4 may be the year where I complain about the heat out loud. I'm not doing it yet. It could be the year where I do that though. Let's find out. And in an effort to try to get myself in more trouble, I'll go ahead and tell you another one that sometimes is not the greatest, and that is the pace of life down here, the southern pace of life. And I don't want to talk out both sides of my mouth, but I'm gonna for just a little bit. I love it overall. I love it's a little bit more laid back. It's a little bit more relaxed. I really do love it. But just really sometimes I get in a hurry. I don't have time to chat, or I just walk too fast sometimes. And it's just like navigating the grocery store is like, ah. Anyway, like I said, I love it overall. I don't mean to be a jerk. It's not you, it's me, honest. It's something I'm working at. But sometimes the slower pace of life here is just not what I'm ready for. New York and New Jersey, come on, you know what I'm talking about, right? I'm walking here. I'm walking here. A few things, based on my experience here and talking to clients again, that I would do different if I was moving here today. The first one is engage quicker. I would get out sooner. When I first moved here, I was kind of, starting my business all over again, and I was just really just work. I would make some time to really plug into some of the social aspects of the city. There are so many, whether that's your church or the clubs that we've talked about, or just getting out for a hike or joining a wine club or taking a class. I would do all of that sooner. I delayed in some of that just so I could kind of get the kids set in school and get going in work. And really looking back, I really wish I would have engaged a little bit quicker. That kind of trough thing that I talked about earlier, I think that would have flattened that out some as I got connected with more people on a social level quicker. So I'd get my kids involved in more things right away. We did sports kind of that fall when we got here. I would look to get them engaged in something much sooner. And I would just make more plans for them quicker for activities and other groups to join on their own, because that's been great for them as well. Another thing I would do if I was doing it over again is I would ask more questions. Going back to the people here being so friendly, and because I tend to keep to myself, I wanted to just do, research on the internet or YouTube and find everything out for myself. And really looking back at it, I wish I would have just asked more questions sooner. I asked some of the big stuff like which beach should I go to, when really that's not an everyday thing, that's a once a year thing. But I would ask more questions about more local things quicker. People here are so happy to talk about and share about the city. They are a tremendous resource. I would do that quicker. Where do you like to hike? What's the best spot for tacos? Where's your favorite park? What do you do with the kids on a Thursday afternoon when it's raining? I would ask all those things much quicker and start getting some really hyper-local recommendations from people around here. Like I said, they're more than happy to share. And I think that would have made just for a really much better experience, especially at the beginning of like year 1 and year 2 for us. Overall, I love living in Winston-Salem. It's not perfect. No place is. It's been a great move for myself and my kids. I hope this video has been helpful. If you need to buy or sell real estate anywhere in Winston-Salem or the entire Triad region, I would love to be a resource for you. You can email me directly at jeff@govalentino.com. Thanks.